written in response to the news about Cantwell and Hagi, the ongoing sagas around them. He said, "We can't even give our players away. Well, Celtic sell fringe players like O for $2.5 million, Mikey Johnson $2.5 million, Lowell $2 million, Haksabanovic $2 million, Siegrist $1 million. Don't know about that, to be fair. And Kobayashi for $1 million. That's 11 million quid. And yet, Rangers, Scott, they can't give Hagi away, and the numbers getting thrown about for Cantwell. I mean, we could have a whip round and get him for the fives team."
Honestly, the guy's right, and this has been bugging me for a while about Rangers, just an inability to be able to bring in proper fees for players that are maybe not out of the first team or ready to move on. Or, I mean, it just, as you say, the Hagi thing is fascinating because, here's a guy who was playing at the Euros in the summer for Romania, fully fit, contracted. We know, although nobody for Rangers has come out and admitted it, but we're fairly certain that he's got a clause in his deal that if he plays one more game, he gets a big wage hike. There might even be money has to go to Genk or whatever. But Hagi's come out today and said, look, well, he's hinted that no, there can be a way around that because he's just desperate to play. Now, this is a boy that was, when Rangers won the league, and I know that was 3 years ago now, but he was the highest assist maker in the Scottish Premiership. A key player for them domestically and in Europe. Now, he got a bad injury and he's obviously struggled a bit coming back from injury. Initially didn't quite look the same player, but after a loan spell, which was probably the right thing to do initially, he's come back, as I say, went to the Euros for his country, and now seems to be being treated like a complete outcast by the club. Now, I'm not saying he's going to come into Rangers midfield and solve all their problems and make sure they put up a title challenge this year. But in terms of the way he's been treated, it seems to me that his value is depreciating every day. So if you've decided, whenever it was, that this guy wasn't part of the plans, surely you have to somehow keep him involved or keep him playing, to keep his value relatively high. And then when it comes to actually moving him on, I've said this to you before, Danny, that is a key part, almost an unseen part of the director of football, head of recruitment's job. Everybody talks about, sporting directors and head of recruitments as if it's all about signing players. A huge part of that job is having an ability to get clubs coming in to buy your players and get decent fees for them. Celtic have done it incredibly well, as you've highlighted there. But to be sitting here now thinking about, as you say, Bosun Lawal, a B team player at Celtic, going to an English Championship club for a couple of million. Mikey Johnson, who with all due respects, I think Mikey Johnson's a good player, but out the picture at Celtic, they're going to pick up another $2.5 million for Sheffield United. For Rangers to be touting Hagi about almost as a free transfer just to get rid of him, just to get off the books, just strikes me as mismanagement. It's just wrong. And Cantwell's another one. We're seeing fees getting bandied about today, 500 grand. We were laughing off air, obviously, the clip that's doing the rounds on social media for 3 years ago when Aston Villa were reportedly in for Cantwell, and the Norwich asking price was between 40 and 50 million. I mean, it's laughable now, but to me, there's a serious point in there in terms of whatever you think of Cantwell. He's under contract to Rangers. His numbers, I've seen his numbers today in terms of goals and assists, actually pretty decent. The last year and a half he's been there, probably better than I thought. He's got a decent reputation in England. Rangers should have people in place who are qualified and experienced enough to be able to get these players off the books, but bring in decent money for them. Mm-hmm. And if the two of them go for next to nothing, the board, or maybe even fans, people at the club might think, well, it's just a case of getting them out. We need to get the wages down, whatever. But I think if they two guys go with their age profile and the talent they've got for less than $1 million, maybe less than $500,000 between them, That just seems ridiculous to me. I don't know what Fraser thinks about it.
It's hard to disagree with any of that. The Hagi one in particular, I find really strange. I can't quite get my head around it. I think we're led to believe it's kind of the way Philip Clement wants to play. It doesn't have that high intensity to get about the park that Philip Clement's wanting to demand from every player he has. But one thing Ianis Hagi does have is that magic to turn the game. Whether he's playing in that kind of number 10 role or whether it's out wide, I think he's shown it. Like you said before he got that injury again, it was Stirling Albion, wasn't it? A League Cup game, a Scottish Cup game against Stirling Albion. Before then, I thought it was one of Rangers' most dangerous players, and that's why they shelled out to bring him back in after his loan spell. So when you look at that Rangers squad right now, I don't see many game changers in there. I certainly never thought Todd Cantwell was one. We'll come on to him in a minute. But I think in the Ianis Hagi, they've got one. And